First meeting of the campaign. For fans of ice speedway, competition is a weekend affair, run over 2 days at each venue. But for riders and mechanics, the work starts a day earlier with the Friday practice sessions. Practice is very important for checking the condition of the engine and the bike, and how it rides this track and ice. Not completing practice would make the competition very difficult. I test two things: the tyres, how much air and pressure to put in them, and my mechanics call the engine. I use practices to try something new, some new wheels, new parts, or a different tyre pressure. But when it comes to the meeting itself, we usually revert back to our standard setup. But how do ice conditions compare from practice to the match day? All ice is the same. If the ice is a little harder, you just stiffen your bike to suit. That's all we can do. The ice is usually the same from practice to the meeting. Today the track has had a lot more rides, more than the equivalent of all the races on Saturday and Sunday. So the conditions weren't that good. But this is my home, my team. Whenever I practice, so there's no real... The 2015 Ice Speedway World Championship season is the 50th since the competition's inception in the 1960s. 18 living champions, including reigning title holder Daniil Ivanov, were honoured at an FIM award ceremony on the weekend of the Togliatti final. A 50 years diploma was presented to each of the attending champions, while they were joined by the 2015 competitors for a photo, among them the 1979 and 1980 world champion. The 20,000 capacity Anatoly Stepanov Stadium is home to the Mega Lada team, which competes in both summer speedway and the very different discipline of ice speedway. Daniil Ivanov is one of 3 home riders competing in the 2015 event, and he hopes that the home crowd could spur him on to forgetting knee ligament problems that harmed his chances in Krasnogorsk. One change to the lineup from the opening round as Nikita Toloknov comes in as a wildcard. He will do well to live up to the performances of round 1 wildcard, Nikolai Krasnikov. As ever, before we get underway with the day's finals, let's take a look at how the riders got on through the qualifying races. Remember, riders were balloted through 20 heats, with the top 8 moving through to the semi-final stage. Igor Kononov was the clear favourite to get the fans up to their feet as the home rider lined up in white for Heat 1. Behind him, Gunther Bauer held a comfortable second position in blue, while the duel between Per-Anders Lindstrom and Mats Jarf was settled at the end of lap 1. Bauer managed just 9 points over 2 days in Krasnogorsk, while Per-Anders Lindstrom came into Togliatti with just 1 championship point. The Swede doubles his season's total by taking third. Dmitry Koltakov was the fastest starter in Heat 2 and quickly settled down his first race victory of the day. Behind him, Stefan Svensson in blue fended off the challenge of wildcard Nikita Toloknov for second. Dmitry Kometsevich predictably made it a third consecutive Russian win with his Heat 3 success, Franz Zorn following behind him for second. Again, the battle was fiercest for the minor places, Jan Klutowski passing Hans Weber at the end of lap 1. The Czech rider in white remained under pressure from Weber in his first full season of World Championship racing. The German, as usual, favouring the outside line, but that was to prove his undoing. He was later disqualified after tagging the bales and dragging them onto the circuit. Harold Simon was the star of an enthralling Heat 4 as he worked his way through from the back to take second. The Austrian passed Jan Klutowski on lap 2, and while Daniel Ivanov pulled away out in front, he moved in on the back of Vitaly Kometsevich, finally finding a way past on lap 4. An impressive first ride for Harold Simon made him one of 4 European riders inside the qualification zone. 2 Russian riders sat outside of the top 8 after round 1. Nikita Toloknov and Vitaly Kometsevich tied on 1. Four riders for Heat 5 had just 2 points between them coming into round 2, so a sharp turnaround was required with semi-final spaces in mind. Vitaly Kometsevich took this one from the tapes, Stefan Pletschaka making a good start before slipping gradually back. Jan Klutowski quickly moved into second in yellow, and Mats Jarf followed him past on lap 2 for the single point. Heat 6 was the most entertaining of the round 2 races as Dmitry Koltakov worked his way through from third to first. The reigning world number 2 passed Dmitry Kometsevich on the inside at the end of the opening lap to leave last year's top 3 in their 2014 championship order on the circuit. But Koltakov was getting much better drive off the bends than Daniel Ivanov ahead and sized his way past. 2 wins out of 2, Koltakov was now the championship leader. Igor Kononov moved level with fellow countryman Koltakov in the day's standings with a round 2 race win. Stefan Svensson in white following in behind, and Hans Weber working overtime to keep Antonin Klutowski at the back. After a first ride disqualification, the Czech was yet to score, while Svensson moved on to 4 from 2 outings. Franz Zorn earned the ire of the home fans after getting the better of local hero Nikita Toloknov on lap 2. The Russian preferred the outside line, making it easy for Zorn to stamp his authority around the inside. Harold Simon in yellow also found a way through as the race went on, but fell dramatically in the latter stages. The bike then powering onto the inside with the Austrian just a passenger. His disqualification left him on 2 points from 2 rides. Both Nikita Toloknov and Vitaly Kometsevich moved into the top 8 with their round 2 point totals. Unbeaten Kononov and Koltakov weren't set to meet until Heat 19 as the points remained close throughout the field. Harold Simon set about round 3 with the target of getting back into the top 8, but was beaten to the first corner by Dmitry Koltakov and was forced to settle for second. After a wild getaway, Hans Weber took a comfortable 3rd position ahead of Mats Jarf. In fact, the German closed in on Harold Simon throughout, but found the door shut on the outside line, coming off each of the bends. Just 2 points from 3 rides, Webber was nonetheless providing stiff enough opposition for his more experienced rivals. Gunter Bauer was unfortunate to miss out on points for a second consecutive ride after disqualification in Heat 10. The veteran tagged the bales coming off turn 4 and was excluded as the cause of the stoppage when the plastic came back onto the circuit. In the restaging, Franz Zorn and Antonin Klotowski battled it out over first. Zorn, the expected race winner, moving on to an impressive 8 from 3 rides. But he was certainly made to work hard for his second win of the day, his Czech challenger scoring his first points of the meeting with an outside blast. Nikita Toloknov had the best view of Heat 11's action as he missed the start, while Daniel Ivanov gave Igor Kononov his first defeat of the day. Toloknov had to work hard to recover the deficit to the leaders. It took until lap 3 for the wildcard to gain enough ground to make a move on Jan Klotowski for third. Ivanov with a clear view of the track ahead of him, up front for the second time of the day, while Kononov's inside attentions proved fruitless. Vitaly Komitsevich was the initial leader of Heat 12, but the wily Stefan Svensson eventually found his way back into the race. With the Komitsevich brothers line astern and the Swedes out at the back, it could have almost been a race from the World Team Championship. But it wasn't long before the Russians got into trouble fighting one another. Dmitry slipping back after hitting an outside rut, and Svensson passing 2 riders in 2 bends. Vitaly was back ahead by lap 3, but Dmitry had too much work to do and had to settle for third. After Igor Kononov's first defeat, 3 riders sat tied on 8 behind meeting and championship leader Dmitry Koltakov. Nikita Toloknov logged back out of the top 8, with the Klotowski brothers packed in just behind. Daniel Ivanov was forced to work hard for his round 4 win after missing the start in Heat 13. Stefan Svensson starting was back on point in Togliatti, but the Swede still hasn't found his best form and was picked off with relative ease. Once he'd fallen behind Franz Zorn and into the clutches of Daniel Ivanov, it wasn't long before he was pushed down to third, and Ivanov continued his progress as he fought past Zorn on the following lap. The fall for Hans Weber in Heat 14 left him disqualified and out of a chance for the semi-finals. It also denied fans the resolution of a battle between Gunter Bauer and Nikita Toloknov that went on to be reignited in the rerun nonetheless. Bauer held the wildcard at bay for over 3 laps, but Toloknov, roared on by his fans in Togliatti, streamed past as the German lifted on the back straight. Dmitry Komitsevich hadn't beaten even one Russian coming into Heat 15, so his modest points total needed a boost against Igor Kononov. But the home track rider jetted from the start to an easy 3 points and moved provisionally top of the leaderboard. Komitsevich had to settle for second best. Dmitry Koltakov moved above his fellow countrymen in the standings with a victory in Heat 16 and remained unbeaten on the day. Round 4 ended the qualification hopes of Antonin Klotowski, who finished at the back, and seemingly of brother Jan as well, after he was passed by Per-Anders Lindstrom on the line. Only the top 5 were guaranteed their spaces in the semi-finals, with a round of heats still to come. Dmitry Komitsevich sat only 2 points above the cut-off on 7, albeit with an easier race to come in Heat 17. (2014's world number 3 needed a minimum of 2 points from his round 5 race to book a semi-final space, and he did so easily enough in the struggling company of Mats Jarf and Antonin Klotowski. Nikita Toloknov gave him a good race for the lead though, and almost gave the fans a moment to remember as he raced Komitsevich to the line. Toloknov made a run on the inside coming off turn 2 on the last lap, but Komitsevich blocked the pass into the top bend. mistake for Jan Klatowski dropped him back from the top two in heat 18, but he did nonetheless manage to recover third ahead of Gunther Bauer. Meanwhile, Harold Simon took his second race victory of the season after an error from Stefan Svensson. The best race of the round unfolded as the Swede fought back, setting up a lunge for the inside into turn 3. Svensson carried too much momentum into the top turn, ran past the apex of the bend, and Simon won a drag race to the line. Dmitry Koltakov came into heat 19 unbeaten, but still hasn't conquered his weakness from the start, and Igor Kononov was perfectly placed to capitalise off the inside. Koltakov beat Komitsevich around the opening lap to hold on to his place at the top of the standings, but Kononov moved level on 14. And Daniil Ivanov forced a rare three-way tie at the top of the leaderboard when he won a fourth ride of the afternoon to match Kononov and Koltakov's score charts. Behind him, Stefan Pletschaka was set for his best result of the day as he kept Hans Weber at bay for second. Ivanov, though, back to his best. With two riders tied on 8 points after the heat stages, wildcard Nikita Toloknov was the unfortunate rider to miss out on Cowpack, Harold Simon progressing at his expense. The rest of the results largely followed the form book. On to the semi-finals, where two riders from each will move through to today's grand final. The lineup for the first semi. Off the inside start position, it's Daniil Ivanov, just 1 point drop to an opponent so far. Vitaly Komitsevich goes off gate number 2, 11 points to his name. Dmitry Komitsevich off gate 3, and Stefan Svensson in his first semi-final around this circuit since 2011 completes the lineup off the outside gate. Roaring down to the first turn with riders off gates 1 and 3 making the traps, but it is the rider in white, Dmitry Komitsevich, who holds it early on, only for Daniil Ivanov to power through up the inside coming off turn 2. That got the fans up to their feet. Big fans of Daniil Ivanov, of course, the fans here in Togliatti. Second place is still with Dmitry Komitsevich, but Vitaly Komitsevich is starting to make up ground. Meanwhile, Stefan Svensson out at the back, losing his way. Diving through up the inside now, Vitaly Komitsevich. Dmitry made a mistake down the back straight, got it up on one wheel, and now the more experienced of the two brothers is powering through in second position, up to the bales where he likes to be, trying to pull clear from Dmitry Komitsevich. Dmitry lunging back to the inside line. On the top turn, it looks as though this battle will go to the finish. Dmitry chops off his brother's nose down the home straight and back into turn 1. The block pass is completed. Great riding there from Dmitry Komitsevich. Vitaly trying to cut back to the inside now as they come into the final two turns. But the line is covered, and Dmitry Komitsevich with a good recovery right there, because he made an error midway through the race. Could have been punished by Vitaly Komitsevich, and initially was, only to fight his way back through. Untroubled up front, Daniil Ivanov on his way to 3 race points. Just 1 point drop now from 6 rides in Togliatti on day 1. Second place going the way of Dmitry Komitsevich. A good race between Dmitry and Vitaly, but that result won't have done the senior of the two brothers any good in the championship at all. A rerun in semi-final 2 after the initial staging of the race was stopped. Harold Simon falling and judged to have been the cause of the stoppage. The restaging takes place without the Austrian in yellow. So the lineup across the tapes will be Dmitry Koltakov in red off gate 1. Gate 2 in blue is with Igor Kononov. Both riders dropped just a point through the heat stages. Franz Zorn in white off gate 3, finalist on each of his last 2 appearances around this circuit. And it is Franz Zorn off gate number 3 who's made the fastest start. Zorn with the whole shot, looking back up the inside, the two Russians. Blast pass coming off turn number 2. Koltakov went mid-track, Kononov went even tighter. Now he's sweeping up by the bales and pulls clear at the end of the opening lap. It's Kononov who leads the way then. Koltakov immediately settling back down to the inside. He's going to try and get the drive off the turns, but it's Kononov who seems to have the most momentum, willing to run the highest possible radius around the circuit. And although Koltakov tends to get good drives off the turns, at the moment it's Kononov who's not compromising his entry speed too much, keeping it wound on around the outside and pulling away to delight the home crowd here in Togliatti. Daniil Ivanov, the winner of the first semi-final. It's going to be another Mega Lada rider who takes victory in semi-final 2. Koltagov slipping back, doesn't seem too concerned by this one because he's hardly putting in the hard yards as Igor Kononov is out in front. It's going to be Kononov to take the 3 points and move on to 17. He'll gain a point back in the championship on Koltagov, who has to settle for second. Franz Zorn in third, a double-figure tally at the end of the day for him. He is eliminated on 11. And of course, Harold Simon, after victory in round 5, was disqualified from the semi-final. A good race there between Igor Kononov and Franz Zorn in the early stages. Zorn making the whole shot, but he was blocked out by the end of the opening lap. And from there, it was easy running for the 2 Russians out front. The top 3 from the qualification heats are joined by Dmitry Komentsevich as we line up for today's grand final. Off the inside start position in red, it's Daniil Ivanov, winner of the World Team Cup here last year. Gate 2 in blue, it's Igor Kononov, the best scorer from the races so far. Gate 3 in white is with Dmitry Koltagov, already once beaten by Kononov. And off the outside gate, it's Dmitry Komentsevich, who's actually made a good trap there from the outside. Kononov gets there on the inside. It's Komentsevich in second position, but only briefly because Koltagov gets the power down out of turn number 2 and moves through into second place. So it's Kononov up by the fence, Koltagov rutting as they go round the mid-track on the top turn, struggling to try and get the bike down onto the inside line. And again he hits a rut and runs wide out of turn number 2. The pressure maintained in third position by Dmitry Komentsevich, but he is now going to come under attack from Daniil Ivanov, who gets turn 4 squared off to come through into third position. Ivanov now in a provisional podium spot. Can he find a way past Koltagov as well? It would do his championship challenge a whole lot of good if Koltagov is beaten in this one. Kononov pulling away out in front, no doubt about who's going to be the race victor here, but Ivanov into the final lap comes up the inside to move past Koltagov back down into turns 1 and 2, and the home fans are delighted. It's going to be a Mega Lada 1-2 with Igor Kononov coming through to win his first Grand Prix in the last 4 years. Kononov to take the checkered flag. Ivanov in second position, and back in third Dmitry Koltagov. Despite starting strongly, he was eventually overhauled, as in fact was Dmitry Komentsevich. Komentsevich, who sat second coming out of turn 2, will be frustrated to have ended up out at the back. A good ride from Daniil Ivanov. Determined stuff to pick off first, Komentsevich, and then Koltagov. It's a 1-2 for the home riders. Kononov taking the 3 points in the final. Daniil Ivanov gets second to move on to 19. A good day's work from him. Dmitry Koltagov collects third, and it's Dmitry Komentsevich who misses out on the podium. Igor Kononov gaining 3 championship points on Dmitry Koltagov, and a good result in the final for Daniil Ivanov as well. Further down the order, an impressive display from wildcard Nikita Toloknov. I'm really happy with...
It's 4 riders, so we must go out to the pit gate. So the blood pressure goes a little bit up, and so we are waiting there, and then one marshal say it's okay, everybody here, and we have to go to the tape. I check the clutch again, is it okay? And some other guys have some special physical moments they do with the hands, they do with the feet, but I'm rolling to the tape and test the clutch and concentrate for the start. I hear no spectators, nobody, only to be concentrate on the green light, and not 2-3 seconds when the tape goes up. Start marshal, he decides the positions, 10 centimeters stand still before the tape, and then green light is coming, 1-2 seconds, and then you think about how you go in the first corner. So the referee push the button and the tape goes up. This is very important when the tape goes up. So you have the first gear inside, must handle the bike with full gas and clutch open, and then you push the second gear, and but then when you are in the first corner, then everything is okay and you can give full throttle.
A second day of racing in Togliatti brought back the stars of the opening 23 heats to do battle with riders looking to improve. Among the riders who were left stranded off the podium on day one were Vitaly and Dmitry Komitsevich. Vitaly dropped just 2 points from his first 4 heat races, but tailed off as the meeting went on.
Yesterday
I had some problems, but I hope everything will be all right today. I spoke with my coach and with my mechanics, and we've made some changes to the bikes. Hopefully, these will all be okay.
Я принял все, какие у меня были проблемы, то есть поработал, обсудили с тренерским составом, с моими механиками, и сегодня будет хорошая гонка.
Dmitry Komitsevich made the final on day one, but finished at the back. Yesterday was a bad day because from my second heat my rides were poor. I don't know what exactly the problem was, whether it was the bike or myself. But the weather is nice, the ice is perfect, so I hope that everything else will be too. Dmitry was set to line up in Heat 1 alongside 3 of his Russian rivals, each of the competitors looking to amass enough points from 5 rides to progress to the semi-finals on day 2. Dmitry Komitsevich made the best start in a tough opening heat, but couldn't get across from the outside gate as Igor Kononov picked up the lead. Dmitry Koltakov was restricted to third, while Mikhail Litvinov, coming in as a late replacement for Nikita Toloknov, who'd missed the opening 2-minute time allowance for the race, trailed in last on his debut. Franz Zorn was the comfortable takes-the-flag winner of Heat 2, but the action was behind him, with the remaining 3 contenders changing positions. Per-Anders Lindstrom picked off Harald Simon at the end of the opening lap, and the Austrian was forced to the back. But after spending a lap trailing in last, Simon cut up the inside of Klotowski and around the outside of Lindstrom to challenge for second. The Swede has had a slow start to 2015, but showed greater fight in Heat 2. Unfortunately, his contest was short-lived, as after being picked off by Simon, he was overhauled by Antonin Klotowski and went pointless from round 1. Günter Bauer spoilt Vitaly Komitsevich's hopes of chasing down the fast-starting Daniil Ivanov in Heat 3, as he did well to block out the Russian for the majority of the race. Komitsevich finally made his way past Bauer on lap 3, a well-timed cutback catching out the German rider. No time to catch Ivanov out in front, the reigning champion seemingly finding his form again in the 2015 championship. Stefan Svensson took his first race victory of the weekend in Heat 4, while the remaining riders went 3 abreast at the end of lap 1. Jan Klotowski came from the back to pass Stefan Pletschaka, but Hans Weber held on well to second. Following a third position finish in his first ride, Dmitry Koltakov sat outside of the qualification zone, albeit with easier rides to follow. Hans Weber hoped to continue his scoring after a best result of the weekend. Igor Kononov took the shortest route around the opening lap of Heat 5 to blast clear as round 2 got underway. Per-Anders Lindstrom remained without a point on day 2, as Jan Klotowski recorded third place for the second time of the afternoon. Heat 6 was one of the best races of the day, as the fast-starting Stefan Svensson was attacked from every direction. As Svensson moved to block Harald Simon, he was swallowed up by the pack, Günter Bauer coming through for second, and Simon also making a move on the inside. The Austrian moved on to pass Bauer within a lap, moving on to 4 points from 2 rides. Svensson, meanwhile, went on to fall on the final lap to complete a frustrating race. Franz Zorn joined Igor Kononov at the top of the standings with a second win of the afternoon. Nikita Togliatti finally took his first outings after mechanical dramas before his first ride and did well enough by banking a second place. Even Bolshakov was the reserve replacement for Max Jarve, who withdrew from the meeting after his first outing. While Dmitry and Vitaly Komentsevich rode in file through Heat 8, an excellent race unfolded behind them. Hans Weber passed Antonin Klotowski on lap 2, but by lap 3 the race was stopped, the German having clipped the bales and dragged them with him around the circuit. Weber dropped a costly point through his disqualification. Stefan Svensson and Hans Weber dropped back down the standings after their round 2 disqualifications, with Harold Simon and Dmitry Koltakov making the fastest progress up the leaderboard. Igor Kononov made it 9 wins out of 10 for the weekend with another fast start in Heat 9. Harold Simon immediately packing in for second around the first 2 bends as Mikhail Litvinov struggled with his baptism of fire in last. As the race went on, Hans Weber made customary gains around the outside and left Simon under pressure, but the Austrian held on well to move on to a creditable 6 points. Weber continued to run perilously close to Simon ahead, and his bravery almost paid off, but the veteran held on to the line. Dmitry Koltakov was drawn 2 outside start positions on day 1 and fared no better from the tapes when he lined up off gate 4 on day 2. But again he was able to launch an attack from behind, finally passing Vitaly Komentsevich with a forceful move on lap 2. As the former world champion attempted to get back into the race, he actually clipped the fence, becoming a 3rd rider disqualified for so doing on day 2. Stefan Svensson bounced back from his round 2 disqualification with 2nd place in round 3, but he had no answer to Daniil Ivanov out in front. Nikita Togliatti moved on to 3 points from 3 rides after getting the better of Antonin Klotowski at the back, and was never far from the rear of Svensson either. Heat 12 took 3 attempts to reach a conclusion after first Günther Bauer bit the ice. Then in the rerun, Jan Klotowski in white was the man to watch. His first bend fall made him the 2nd rider disqualified from the race. In the 3rd staging, the action was finally of an on-track nature. Franz Zorn doing well to hold back the faster Dmitry Komentsevich for a 3rd consecutive win of the day. Top Russian riders like Komentsevich are rarely beaten by European challengers, but Zorn at this stage was riding out of his skin. The Austrian remained undefeated at the top of the standings alongside Igor Kononov, with each of the 5 permanent Russians represented in the top 8. Nikita Togliatti and Hans Weber just a point behind the cut-off at this stage. Two previously unbeaten riders, Kononov and Zorn, lined up in Heat 13, but with the Austrian on the outside gate, he was never likely to be a challenger for the home track specialist. While Kononov blasted away, Zorn got caught up in traffic, never able to pass Stefan Svensson for 3rd. Svensson harried Komentsevich on the opening 2 laps, but could make no further progress either as he moved on to 6. Mikhail Litvinov took another ride in Heat 14 after his fellow countryman Ivan Bolshakov had hit the tapes, but he became another victim of the funnel-like corner exits as he tagged the fence and was disqualified. In the rerun, Dmitry Koltakov confirmed his semi-final space by moving on to 10, Antonin Klotowski notching his best finish of the day in front of brother Jan. Franz Weber made another fast start to round 4, but was passed by Nikita Toloknov, who took his first win of the weekend to delight his home crowd. The German killed his own momentum with big lifts down the straights, and that allowed fellow countryman Bauer and Sweden's Per-Anders Lindström to close in. He was passed by Lindström when he got out of control up by the bales, and that created a space for Bauer to follow through. Daniil Ivanov booked his qualification space with victory in Heat 16 that moved him on to 11 points. Despite having recorded just one race win all afternoon, Dmitry Kometsevich looked set to follow him with 3 second places, banking valuable points during the event. Each of the top 3 riders had secured their spaces in the semi-finals by the end of round 4, while Vitaly Kometsevich sat surprisingly out of the top 8 at this late stage, following his earlier disqualification. Dmitry Kometsevich won a second ride of the afternoon from the outside gate in an understrength Heat 17. Per-Anders Lindström moved on to his season's best 5 points with 3rd place, while Stefan Svensson sat in a provisional semi-final space with 2nd. Heat 18 had been an outstanding race until Daniil Ivanov took a hefty fall, and Dmitry Koltakov with him. The restaging provided a similarly hefty crash as the remaining 3 riders hooked up on bend 1, and again Koltakov was the man down. Just to prove his return to fitness following injury during the winter, Koltakov got back up to fight for a 3rd time and took a win from the back, passing Franz Zorn on lap 2 for the checkered flag. Nikita Toloknov needed only 2 points from Heat 19 to confirm a place in the semi-finals, but looked on course for a 2nd consecutive race win early on. Vitaly Kometsevich, though, came from way back after an opening lap error and soared around the outside before heading away to victory. Igor Kononov completed an unbeaten Heat score chart and moved to the semi-finals as the top seed. None of the other 3 riders in Heat 20 were candidates for the top 8, so their squabbles were only worth pride and were settled early on. On day 1, 2 riders tied on 8 points, and Nikita Toloknov was the rider to miss out at the expense of Harold Simon. The pair tied on 8 again on day 2, but it was Simon who missed out on comeback. The lineup for the first semi-final off the inside start position in red, it's Igor Kononov, unbeaten from the Heat stages. Now a finalist in each of his last 4 appearances around this circuit, looking to make it 5. Gate 2 in blue, it's Franz Zorn, excellent through his first 3 rides, just 2 points from his last 2 outings. Vitaly Kometsevich goes off gate 3, and last year's world number 6, Stefan Svensson, off the outside gate. Semi-final 1 then gets underway with another fast up from Franz Zorn off gate number 2. Around the outside of him in white though comes Vitaly Kometsevich, and the 2 are going to run almost level coming off the 2nd bend. Picking up the whole shot, it's Igor Kononov. No great surprise that the 4th man is leading the way. The big surprise is Franz Zorn in 2nd, but he's lifted out of turn 4, and that's allowed an opportunity for Vitaly Kometsevich to come through. Zorn then bumps again on turns 1 and 2, and after making the start in the semi-final on day 1, he slipped back. The same situation in the semi-final on day 2. Zorn will be disappointed having seen a final opportunity slip away, as gradually the rider in the white helmet colour, Vitaly Kometsevich, pulls clear. He had a disappointing Heat stages. Vitaly Kometsevich didn't make it into the double figures, squeezed his way into the semis, and now he's going to book a place in a final for the first time in the last 5 years. Kometsevich in 2nd position, then Kononov pulling clear, Zorn back in 3rd position, and Stefan Svensson, who is bouncing back here today after a disappointing opening to 2015, can only manage to finish at the back in the semi-final stage. Great win from Igor Kononov. It's 6 wins out of 6 for him, 18 points on the day, putting pressure on his championship rivals once again. A good ride in second from Vitaly Komitsevich. He had to do it from behind after drawing an unfavourable starting position. Franz Zorn overtaken in both semi-finals. The lineup for semi-final 2, Dmitry Koltakov off the inside, Dmitry Komitsevich off 2, gate 3 is with Danil Ivanov, the outside, the wildcard Nikita Toloknov, the man that the home fans will be rooting for here. But it's the rider off the inside start position who makes the whole shot. That's Dmitry Koltakov. Ivanov bumping and boring coming off turn number 2, killed his momentum. Dmitry Komitsevich is able to pull clear. And the two home riders, the two Mega Lada riders, are out at the back here. Toloknov slipping back in last position, understandably, finding the pace just a little bit too hot here. The 20-year-old on his debut World Championship weekend. But the surprise is that Ivanov is being restricted to third, and that the main pressure is being exerted by the rider in the blue helmet colour, Dmitry Komitsevich, on the tail end of Dmitry Koltakov. Koltakov under some pressure here. He's got to try and hold the line. Komitsevich not bold enough to go right around the outside, because he knows that Ivanov in turn has an opportunity to find a way through. Ivanov close coming out of turn 4, pulls level with Komitsevich, who's back across the front into turn 1 once again, and Danil Ivanov trying continuously to square off the turns, looks up the inside. He's going to have a go into the final 2 turns, slightly wider into 3. Komitsevich covers it off. Does he cover it off well enough? Just about. And Koltakov was almost passed on the line there as well. Outstanding stuff in the second semi-final. It's Koltakov and Komitsevich who move through at the expense of Ivanov and Toloknov. The top 3 in the current World Championship standings go head-to-head in the final. Vitaly Komitsevich, the odd one out, will be going off the outside gate. The inside is with Igor Kononov, the day 1 winner, unbeaten on day 2. Gate 2 in blue is Dmitry Koltakov, the winner of the last final here back in 2013. Gate 3 in white with Dmitry Komitsevich, a previous winner here, beat Nikolai Krasnikov around this circuit in 2011. Vitaly Komitsevich off the outside gate after scoring just 9 points through the heats. He is the outsider. It's the rider of gate 3, Dmitry Komitsevich, who's made the start. Komitsevich extra příjem.
Někteří dokonce pracují z domova na plný úvazek. Když víte, že je to pravda, ale já jsem tady, abych vám řekl, jak je to jednoduché. Jsem tady, abych vám řekl, že vy to dokážete, vy můžete začít ještě dnes a vy můžete začít v této ekonomice. Dobrý den, jsem David Dvořák a pouze v krátkém času jsem se vyšplhal z totální neřiny na online milionář. Vydělal jsem miliony dolarů implementací systému, který vám za chvíli představit. A teď je řada na vás. Uvidíte, že lidé mi za toto informaci platili i 5 000 amerických dolarů. Naučil jsem se fungující metody tisíce lidí, ale teď vás chci naučit tyto stejné metody zcela bezplatně. Tato bezplatná nabídka je k dispozici pouze po omezenou dobu, tak byste měli konat rychle a chopit se této příležitosti, pokud můžete. Naučíte se systém, který jsem o sobě vytvořil a zlepšoval během posledních několika let. Je to úplně stejný systém, který změnil můj život k lepšímu. Mohl jsem odejít z práce, můžu si vydělávat jenom několik hodin denně a žít život, po jakém se vždy směl. Teď můžete tento systém okopírovat. Tady vám dávám svůj slib po zhlédnutí tohoto videa a zaregistrování. Budete mít všechno, co potřebujete na to, aby